bub. Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me for Chronicles in Collecting, where we're going to open the Mondo X-Men The Animated Series Wolverine Limited Edition Pryde of the X-Men variant, or you could just say it's the yellow and brown suit version. X-Men The Animated Series was a 76-episode TV show that ran from October 1992 through September 1997. Wolverine wore his blue and yellow suit in that show, so the brown suit version is specifically based on his appearance in the pilot for an earlier X-Men show called Pryde of the X-Men, which was a one-episode pilot released in 1989 but never picked up for TV. This figure came out in February 2022, cost $200, and was a limited edition of 500. So first off, I mean, this box is so cool. Hopefully you saw it when I was doing the rotating stand, but it's got, this like production material from the X-Men animated series. So a really cool way to start off this figure line. I'd say generally, I was really excited about the Mondo animated figure lines. They have, Batman the animated series and X-Men, but I think they kind of dropped the ball a little bit. Batman in particular, they had announced a whole bunch of them. And the Joker, I think they announced like 2 years ago, and I still haven't released anything past the four that they had made, the two Batman, Catwoman, and Mr. Freeze. Start taking a look at some of the things here, start taking a look at this figure. And then X-Men, they kind of announced like forever ago, and I think specifically they had announced Wolverine and Magneto, and there was kind of radio silence for a long time, and then last year at San Diego Comic-Con, they had the yellow and blue variant of Wolverine in very, very limited quantities, which I'll be taking a look at next week. And then this guy, I'm not quite sure how many of these they made, but my box says, number whatever out of 552, so probably about that many. And this one was kind of really annoying to get because they never really announced when it was coming out. God, there are so many twist ties on this. I don't know why there's so many twist ties, because you could only buy this directly from them, so it's not like it's going to be in stores or something like that. It is nice that they kind of put little paper over the twist ties so that it wouldn't like mess up the figure, so I'll give them that at least. But anyway, yeah, this guy was like, it sort of just sent an email in the middle of the day that's just sort of like, hey, this is available now, and it was like a random, as far as I know, unannounced day. Fortunately, I happened to be sitting at my computer and I was able to get one, but I suspect there are a lot of people who are less lucky. So take a quick look at this guy. I mean, I think this is an awesome figure. The lines are really cool. I think that the Mondo style really fits very well to these, kind of 90s animated series that were detailed, but not super detailed, but also not just like kind of the more basic, digital animation shapes you'd get today that are, have very, very few lines. Let's take a quick look at some of the accessories. The hands are a little bit more interesting than these on most. So we have obviously Wolverine with his claws, Wolverine without his claws. I think as far as accessories, they kind of went for the more quote unquote memeable moments from X-Men the Animated Series. So you have kind of Wolverine eating the chicken leg, and then you have the picture frame of Jean and Scott that Wolverine was looking at and crying, which I think is sort of what the special edition of the yellow version of this is sort of meant to recreate. And pretty funny, you could put your own picture in there as well, so you can cry to that if you have any lost loves, which is exactly what you want out of your figure. You got a few extra heads. Got that one kind of, say, lukewarm, and of course more tape. Tape makes its revenge. For anyone watching from the beginning, you know that tape is a long-running rival of mine in figures, typically in Chogokin stuff, but Mondo as well. This figure is Morph, for anyone who might not be familiar. Morph is like a shapeshifter guy who was created for X-Men the Animated Series, so you could put him on there, and then a Wolverine without his mask. And then finally, this cool piece right here, which is, of course, more twist ties, and has the two hands attached to it. I'm probably going to do a pose with that, so I'll take it out later, but that's kind of recreating his pose from the opening. Anyway, I'm going to be back in a few minutes, pose this guy, and I'll give you some final thoughts. right, and we are back. So let's get this guy on the rotating stand here, and I'll give a few final thoughts. So I think all in all, I'm not super impressed by this figure. I mean, it's nice. Like I said, I think it's got nice lines. I like the idea. I love this pose with the energy. For anyone who maybe is not super familiar with X-Men the Animated Series, basically every X-Men's power was just represented through some form of colored light. So it was like, obviously Cyclops, he has the red beam, which makes sense, and then Storm, like, she would, even though she would have electricity, there would still be beams coming from her arms. And Magneto, when he was using his magnetism power, beam would come from his arms. And when Professor X was using his telepathy, beams would come from his head. And Wolverine, he had beams coming from his claw, but just in the opening. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't think this figure is anything like super special. I did mention it before, but it did come with a stand, but it's just like a generic stand. It doesn't have like an X-Men logo or something on it. I feel like you could pretty easily put an X-Men logo or a Wolverine logo or something on it. I will say that I like these stands a little bit more than the ones that came with the Batman the Animated Series one, which I absolutely detested. Another accessory that came with it that was pretty interesting is this hand, and that's to kind of do his like come here bub pose, from the cover where he's got the claw up and he's going like this with his other hand. So that's cool. But as far as the accessories, I don't know. I guess just like the meme accessories don't really do it for me. I would have liked to see something a little bit more interesting, maybe like a patch face, where Wolverine has the eye patch, or I don't know, a Weapon X helmet or something. I just don't find the turkey leg and the photograph, that compelling. And as far as the figure itself, I mean, I think it's nice. It's not like the most posable figure of all time. You're kind of limited at the legs. You can't have him, open up his legs a little bit for a pose. You could bend at the knees. It doesn't have a ton of articulation around the waist, a little bit around the chest. As far as quality is concerned, I mean, I think these are pretty typical of the Mondo figures. They're not perfect, but they're not horrible. There are some little blemishes, here and there where the paint got scraped or whatever, just taking it out of the box. And I think that the other kind of major elephant in the room is the fact that if you pick up this, if you want just this figure, well, obviously, they only made 500 of them, so you're out of luck unless you want to buy it on eBay, or wait until maybe the yellow and blue Wolverine regular edition figure ever comes out. But there's a one on the box implying that there's going to be future figures, but who knows? It took 2 years for this one to come out, and who knows if it could be another 2 years before Magneto comes out, and maybe there'll only be 500 of them available if you happen to be at your computer when they send out the email. So I'd say certainly buyer beware if you're gonna start this line or something like that. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Anyway, thanks so much for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate a like or subscribe. And if you did enjoy it, tell me about it in the comments. If there's something you want to see about this figure or another one, tell me about it and I'll see what I could do. I normally do new figure reviews on Wednesdays. That's stuff that's come out within the last few weeks or last few months. And then usually 2 to 3 Fridays a month, I'll do like a retro figure review. People seem to not be super into my Mondo figure review, so I'm throwing this up on a Friday. And then next Friday, I'll take a look at the blue and yellow Wolverine Mondo San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. And please join me for next week's episode where we're going to take a look at the 3-0 Fig Zero Power Rangers Core Ranger set and Green Ranger and Dragon Shield Red Ranger. Thanks so much and keep collecting. Core Ranger set and the Dragon Shield